you get the idea. Landscape's gotten worse over the last 10 years, significantly. Um, so now's the time, boys. I mean, if you don't have that situation set up, but it's going to be chaos, it's going to be pain. When you're first starting to do your cold calls, terrible. When you're first starting to do cold pitches and door to door, it's terrible. Now you can't even do that. You can't do door to door. Painful. So, I mean, don't look at guys like Gary Vee that look like they're having a great time and think that that's entrepreneurship. It's not. If you're already an entrepreneur and you're successful, don't think that like, okay, I can cruise. Like, you can cruise if you don't want to level up. But if you want to level up, the next level is going to be pain. Hiring more people is going to be pain. Okay. And I was having this conversation with my client. I said, you know, he's really resistant to hiring on people. I'm like, what's the alternative? The only alternative now is we need to start turning away business, because he's already doing 10 hours a day of programming work. Okay. You know, we can raise prices, which will screen out a certain amount of clients, but ultimately, you know, we're going to be turning down good business. And he's already maxed out. And I said, if you don't do it this week, next week's going to be hell again. Okay. And then you're going to start having drinking problems, and then you're going to start having food problems and drug problems and all this other stuff that happens to most entrepreneurs when they get overwhelmed and they're not able to scale to that next level in the proper way. Happened to me. You know, I went for way too long without putting people on the team and outsourcing things and doing stuff myself, because I wasn't willing to eat that pain, that chaos, and that trauma at the time. So, but what it did was it just caused me significantly more pain and chaos and trauma over the long term. Okay, so you have to eat that to get to that next level. Now, you don't have to keep climbing levels like a madman forever. You know, if you look at Grant Cardone, these guys always trying to put themselves in that painful process. You can, I don't want to say set it and forget it, but like, you know, if you're cruising on $1 million a year and you're an expat entrepreneur and you're legally tax minimized, and you know you're paying people from Eastern Europe and things of that nature to do work for you, which means only 20% of your revenue is going back out the door. I mean, you can roll quite nicely on that. You know, I had a client who was doing a fair bit more than that, who could have had a fantastic next 10 years cruising on that, but he wanted to build the empire and he wanted to keep leveling up, and the price for that was pain. You know, he was in that 7 to 15 person under management, which is that nightmare zone, because you're starting to get a number of people under you, but you're not quite above the fray unless you have until you can get a manager in there managing those people. It's painful. Okay, you need to get ideally to that 15 person level, which is where you've got a chief operating officer, and maybe you've got some heads of the divisions, like head of marketing, head of sales. And then you're not hearing about some girl got quit or had to get fired, because you're going to have to fire so many people. You're going to have to get rid of like 80% of people that you hire, because they're either going to be bad from the start, or they're going to go bad within 6 months. Or if you're lucky, they stay good the whole time, but they don't stay more than 2 or 3 years. You're going to be lucky to get someone for more than 3 years. So it's going to be a constant process, and you need to either have a small team where it's not a constant effort of hiring and firing, or you know, you've got someone in charge of that and you're kind of above the fray, which is much easier once you're at that 15 person level and your income's solid. But to grow beyond there, to grow, you know, I had long conversations with this client. I was like, bro, it's you know, if you want to keep building this empire, it's just going to keep being more pain, because you're just going to keep leveling up more and more and more and more. So you know, you have to accept that, and you know, that's the name of the game. Okay, now I'm not saying, you know, you should just all of a sudden get comfortable and stop growing. That's not the case, but you know, it's like you can, you know, if you're sitting on $100,000, $1 million net worth, you've got $100,000, $1 million coming in, you're an expat entrepreneur, your taxes are minimized, you can push at a slower pace. You can enjoy your life more. You can enjoy views like this more. You can get your health back. You can do all these different things. You don't have to keep, pushing crazy levels every quarter, because you understand the name of the game is that to get to that next level, it's only fun once you get up to that plateau. Like, I'm up here in the penthouse, and this is fun, and this is nice, and like, I pretty much got all my stuff down to one suitcase again, and I'm feeling real free. Looking for these borders to open up, to be able to travel again. I can't wait. But it came from fucking pain, man. Like, it's fun now when I'm on the plateau. I'm literally on the top of the building now, but that came from years of grinding in this shit apartment and saving everything, going through these breakups that didn't work, growing up poor, wasting my money on businesses that didn't work, courses that didn't work, books that didn't work, business partners that didn't work or betrayed me, or friends that betrayed me, or girls that betrayed me, or businesses that were just stupid to be in the first place. Because I was wandering through the dark pre-internet, or back when the internet did not have the kind of resources that were available. Okay, fucking chaos and pain, and damn near, I'll say it, trauma. Okay, for not all entrepreneurs, but some entrepreneurs, that first level is trauma. It's a traumatic childhood, okay, and then it's a traumatic first entry to business, or a couple failures that really stung you, business partners that fucked you, while your relationship was falling apart, while you were in debt. The second level was traumatic. That business failed. Business number 2, number 3, finally you figured it out. Trauma, I'll use that word. Like, look at almost every entrepreneur gets fat at some point in their career, or they get a drug addiction, or a food addiction, or an alcohol addiction, or a cigarette addiction, or all of the above. Okay, that is a result of trauma. Okay, that is why most people don't succeed. That's why most people don't get to that 1%, because they're not willing to eat that pain, that chaos. And again, I'll say it, trauma. All right, same entrepreneur that I was telling you about had pretty much all the symptoms of CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, which is what people get from traumatic events, or they get it from wars, or, I mean, it can be that bad if you've really gone through a rough patch. And that's what I try and help all my clients with, and you guys with, is like, I'm gonna take the trauma and all the mistakes that I made, and just like time compress, and just like steer you away from like 90% of those mistakes, so you don't have to go through it. Like, I've got clients in my 40s who are already multi-millionaires, clients in my mid-30s, but then I've got my young boys who are like 23, 24, and they're just rolling with like all my guidance to where they aren't making those mistakes. They're not doing a bunch of dumb time wasting projects. They're not getting into bed with different business partners. They're not doing things on spec. They're focused on monthly revenue and increasing that revenue. They're not doing any fantasy business. They're not doing any projects that don't make us money. They're maximizing their hourly rate. I'm on them all the time for getting revenue, getting new clients, getting their daily hourly up. No fantasy business whatsoever. Just ruthless chasing of this month's revenue, and aiming to increase that revenue in a high ticket, high margin, high skilled service business, scaling up to 6 figures, and then from 6 figures to $1 million. Okay. So I'm able to do that for my clients. And if you want to help and minimize that pain to get to that next level, feel free to come on board, revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/coaching. But if you're not there yet, or you're not interested in that, that's no problem. Just recognize that's the name of the game. But that pain, being able to push through that pain, is what's going to separate you from those other motherfuckers who just tap out on everything. They quit on their relationships, they quit on their businesses, then they don't keep pushing. That's why 90% of businesses fail. Okay, part of it's they don't choose the right business. Like, I wouldn't do any physical, like, location business. Like, every business I walk by on the street before COVID, okay, here in Georgia, I would not do. All right, I would not do any of these businesses after COVID, I definitely wouldn't be doing any of them. Okay. A lot of people are in the wrong business. But if you're in the right business, it's like high ticket, high margin service business. If you failed because you stopped eating that pain, you quit, and you stopped leveling up and eating more of that. Okay. And the biggest one is chaos and uncertainty. Can I do this? Is this the right fit? Don't worry about that. That voice is going to nag at you every day. You just don't listen to it. You're like, whatever, I'm doing this anyways. Okay. And tell yourself, this is hard. Okay. This is hard. This is where someone else would quit, but not me. This is where my future competitors are quitting. This is where, this is how I differentiate myself based on my mental toughness, my strength, my ability to never fucking quit, my ability to get up in a bad mood, when I'm sick, when I'm doubting myself, if I'm feeling depressed, I do the fucking work anyways, okay? Or if I don't do the work, I failed myself that day, the next day I wake up, do it again, okay? You failed yourself yesterday, doesn't matter. Today you wake up, you willing to get up and you go eat that pain till you get to that next level, okay? But don't get me wrong, the next levels get better and better and better. You're always gonna have problems, but believe me, it gets so much better, like you can't even believe it. If you're really struggling right now, when you start leveling up and start getting that financial freedom, you've got years of payoffs ahead of you, years, okay? But not if you quit, and not if you think in terms of this fantasy entrepreneur bullshit. And it's something that I feel like nobody is hammering people enough on. I never see it from the big guys. I see a little bit of it, but it's not like, dude, just a day of cold calling is fucking terrible. Like, if you're new to it, it's terrible. There's no two ways around it.